Hey everybody, Mrmathblog here. This lesson is identifying equivalent expressions. This is lesson 7-9 in our textbook. Don't forget your lessons can be found at mrmathblog.com. Okay, so here's our common core strand for awesome teachers, and our question here is how can we identify equivalent algebraic expressions? Okay, so here's an example. At Alonzo's Pizza Depot, it's my favorite pizza place. They can bake 10 deep dish pizzas in 1 hour, and each pizza can feed 4 people. They're delicious. The expression 10p plus 4 can be used to find the people fed when there are p pizzas made. Okay, that's why we did P for pizzas, okay? We could have done P for people also, but P pizzas, okay? All right, so is the expression equivalent to 14P? So we're going to use the properties of operations to support our answer. So is 10P times 4 equivalent to 14P? Well, some of you guys already know the answer to this. Some of you guys don't. We're going to go through some properties of equality here. So what's one property that we can use on this that we can see right here? So 10p times 4. Well, remember when I drive to work, I commute to work, so we can commute these guys around the multiplication sign. So commutative property of multiplication, that's one thing we can do. So let's go ahead and determine whether 10p times 4 is equivalent to 14p, okay? So here we go. The expression 14p is the product of a number and a variable. So what we're going to do, see this 14p is 14 times p. So we're going to write 10p times 4 as the same, a product of a number and a variable. Okay, so let's go ahead and use the commutative property right here. So commutative property says we're going to switch them around the multiplication sign. So 10p times 4 is going to be 4 times 10p right there. That's commutative property. They commuted around the multiplication sign right there, okay? And then now we'll go ahead and use the, okay, all of a sudden we have parentheses being involved, so we're going to go ahead and use the associative property. Almost always, not always. There is an example in this lesson where we have parentheses. It's not associative. I'll show you. But most of the time you see parentheses, think associative. Associative property just says instead of grouping the 10p together, we're going to group the 4 times the 10 together. Here's 4 times 10p, so instead we're going to group the 4 times 10 together, so 10 goes in there times p. So now we'll go ahead and multiply 4 times 10 is 40. All right, so compare the expressions 40p and 14p, okay? Well, think 14 times a number is not equal to 14, as I say 40. 40 times a number is not equal to 14 times that same number, besides 0, because anything times 0 equals 0. So let's just check. We're going to choose a value of p, then evaluate 40p and 14p. I like small numbers when we're doing this, you guys. So let's just try 2, you guys. We could try 1, we can try 3, we can try 100 if you want. Any number other than 0. So let's try 2. Let's plug in 2. Okay, 40 times 2, okay, let's multiply is 80, and then 14 times 2 is 28. Look, that 80 doesn't equal 28, so these expressions have different values. So the expressions of 10p times 4 and 14p, remember this is 40p right here, 14p, they are not equivalent expressions right there, okay? All right, so explain why the expressions 7a and 9a are not equivalent, even though they have the same value when a equals 0. Well, by the same reasoning, you guys, you can plug in any other number. For the expressions to be equal or equivalent to each other, they have to have the same value for every value of the variable. So if we plugged in even a equals 1, 7 times 1 is 7, 9 times 1 is 9, that doesn't work. The only time it does work is when it's 0. So for values other than 0, the expressions don't have the same value, okay? So here we're going to use properties of operations to determine whether the expressions are equivalent expressions, okay? So here we have 7y plus the sum of x plus 3y, and here we have 10y plus x, okay? So what we're going to do is recognize that the expression 10y plus x is the sum of 2 terms. So let's rewrite this guy as the sum of 2 terms right there, okay? So the book suggests that we're going to do the commutative property of addition. Now here's the example what I'm talking about. All of a sudden parentheses are involved, but the parentheses didn't move to different numbers right here. So in here the 7y stayed in the same spot right here. So what we're going to do is commute these guys around the addition sign. So we'll put 3y here and then the x right there, okay? Now we'll use the associative property. So now look at the parentheses changed. So when the parentheses change, that's associative property. So 7y plus 3y, and then we'll put the plus x all by itself out there. So let's go ahead and put that 7y in there. And then we'll combine like terms, 7y plus 3y. How many y's is 7y plus 3y? That's 10y. Okay, so 10y plus 3x here, 10y plus 3x, and this 10y plus 3x right here, they're the same, okay? So the expression 7y plus the quantity x plus 3y and 10y plus x, they are equivalent expressions right there, okay? And if we need to, we could check by plugging in numbers, but we'll save that for another turn here. So let's go ahead and do that with this one. 10 times the quantity m plus n and 10m plus n, are they equivalent expressions? Okay, real common error that comes up with my high school algebra kids is this one coming up. So the expression, this expression right here, 10m plus n, is the sum of two terms. Here's this term and here's this term. So let's rewrite this product times this sum as just the sum of two terms, okay? So we can do that by doing the distributive property, okay? So 10 times n and then 10 times n, okay? So 10 times m, 10 times n, okay? So multiply within parentheses, so 10 times m is just 10m, 10 times n is just 10n right there, so we'll put that in right there, and then compare the expressions, 10m plus 10n and 10m plus n, okay? So these first two terms, 10m and 10m, are the same. Okay, but the second two terms, 10n and n, tongue twister, they're not the same, you guys. They're different terms right there. So I don't think they're equivalent. And what we're going to do is check by choosing values for m and m, M&Ms, and then evaluate 10m plus 10n and evaluate 10m plus n. So let's slide that up, and we'll just choose nice small numbers. We'll use 2 for m, so we'll plug in 2 right here, and we'll use 4 for n. We'll put in 2 right here, and we'll put in 4 right here, and we'll show that they are not equivalent expressions. So here we go. 10 times 2 is 20, and then 10 times 4, we're going to go ahead and multiply. 10 times 2, 20. 10 times 4 is 40. And over here, 10 times 2 is 20. And this one doesn't have a time, so we're just going to add 4 right there. Okay, so we get 20 plus 4. All right, over here, 20 plus 40 is going to be 60. And then over here, 20 plus 4 is just 24. And 60 is not equivalent to 24. They have different values. So the expression 10 times the quantity m plus n and 10m plus n, are they equivalent or are they not equivalent? They are not equivalent right there. All right, you guys, I hope that lesson makes sense, and take care.